one of the 4 pillars of GIA, and it's integral to how we work going forward and probably for years to come. RIAT, as you know, is a transition of local internal audit functions into a regional team. And the reason for that is to leverage our resources and to become more efficient and effective in terms of helping the offices and the region to achieve their goals. We embarked on RIAT in FY13, and NIR was the first office to implement RIAT. However, implemented it in FY14. However, the initiative slowed down significantly because of pushback. We got pushback from board members, local board members, as well as MDs. Local board members felt that they were going to lose support, and they rely on the local audit functions to assist them in discharging their fiduciary duties. So they were concerned about that. And the MDs, they didn't want to give up control of their local auditors, because they often use them to do a lot of troubleshooting. However, in FY16, we regained momentum, and the reason why budget cuts. The offices, as you know, there were significant budget cuts in FY16. So they saw RIAT as an area. Well, they saw some cost savings from RIAT. What happened during FY14 through FY16? Vacancies weren't filled. And the reasons why, they said, well, we'll wait until RIAT is implemented. So in FY16, RIAT regained momentum, and SAR and WAR implemented RIAT in SAR in FY17 and WAR in FY18. So, and all the regions now are in the process of moving forward with the implementation. So I want to bring Adrian up Adrian has been leading the regions in implementing RIAT, so let me ask Adrian to come up and present.
Good morning, everyone. How are you doing today? Bangkok. How is this? So I hope you had a very good evening the other day. And well, let's walk through a bit about this concept of regional internal auditing. This is a wonderful journey. We went through this now with 3 regions. So some of you are very already familiar and experiencing this, but I'm sure many others will be very interesting. What about this? We have this momentum. We put this on the table again, and everyone is very interested about this. We have all the regions say, okay, let's go for it. And we have really hard work with the regional audit directors for the 4 regions that are in the journey to do this. So I'm walking you through a bit about the concept. So of course you might wonder why you need a regional internal audit team and what is this. So let's find out a bit. So we can say what would be the objectives and benefits of the RIAT. So this is an initiative that would say what would be the success story for this? This is a regional kind of a project. So it's not a model that will be just replicated to each region. We do this journey with each region, each regional leadership, national leadership and boards, and we make sure it's a good model for the specific region. So that, one of the, we say, what would be the key factor of change management, be inclusive and have all the stakeholders to own the process. So why is this? We look for the expected benefits, and we have demonstrated benefits in the regions that we have implemented RIAT. It's more effective, more efficient utilization of internal audit resource across the region. Now we have putting all the resources together, and we do audit planning and maximizing the efforts and the effect, and we put all the skills together. So we know very well in the local context, national context, how difficult it is to have all the possible skills to have a very effective department, but this is totally different with the regional team. We have enhanced independence and enhanced reliance by the global internal audit on the regional team to perform audits within the region, within the national office in that specific region. We're looking for increased quality, increased timeliness, value for the internal audit products and services. So we have improved methods, methodologies, KPIs, a synergy in the regional team. We see that, we experience that. We have a better synergy, and the product, the regional internal audit reports product, we see an enhanced value. By simple the fact that exposure of auditors make them much better. You'll be much better as exposing yourself to more context and seeing more areas of business by simply connecting the dots. And I'm very confident that probably in 10 years from now, I'll see many leaders in this room will be the leaders of World Vision. You'll make a very fine general managers. You see many things, you connect more dots. So I'll encourage you to go this journey. Even might look a bit, disturbing to you. And yes, we're going to share the experience a bit later on. Before and after for some, the region already experienced this. Yes, let's continue. Greater flexibility, ability to apply the right expertise to the audit engagement. So, yeah, I'm sure you can tell me how difficult it is to probably go in another country when you have high needs for an audit. But for the investigation, I think that would be the most impactful. How difficult it is. We have to deal with the national leadership to allow you to go to another country. In the RIAT, that decision is with the audit department. So we're very fast to decide to reallocate resources for the high-need assignments. I mentioned about the collective skills. I mean, each of us will look to enhance our skills in many domains. However, sometimes it's difficult to know everything. But as a team, we are together. So all together we'll do an excellent product. Automation, we experience GRC. That will really come to leverage our efforts. And I'm sure you enjoy GRC. Thanks to Eduardo, maybe. Very important, a wider range of services. We do services. We already are in the journey doing advisories, doing investigations, but we are looking in area to have specialized resources and to respond faster, to have professionals, certified professionals. I think it's a big difference. I mean, we're doing great services. Let's do it much better. So building dedicated resource for IT and for investigations. Advisory specific, we look for any of the auditors to be experiencing advisory. I'm sure over time we might have some more people that would like to experience more advisory. They are more inclined to do advisory in the audit. That's fine, it's very normal. But let's go for it. Local boards are in the journey of implementing RIAT. They are specifically concerned about the fiduciary requirements. So we have a very good answer for that. We have dedicated manager to report to the board and ensure everything board needs from the fiduciary standpoint, they have it. So they have approval of the audit plan for that specific country, regular reporting, quality reporting, and having special requests coming and responding on time, very important. Of course, you will ask me, what is this for me as an auditor? So, I think the very first, very important thing, having a regional team. And I have experienced that process. And coming from the isolated, not necessarily isolated, but just doing your own job in your own country, individually, and then coming to have the sense of belonging to a team, to a community as a region. That's an amazing journey. But not only in the region, we do go beyond the regions. You might have seen that how much I encourage communication across regions. And I love to continue doing that. We are a community, we are a family, GIA. Okay, so that's very important. There will be a more clear career path. We'll not stop to the national office. We'll continue. And not only in audit, so don't look at, my career will be only on audits. My career can be anywhere. I grow myself, I grow in the RIAT, and I can go in any country in the future. I can be a very fine leader. And I'm sure, as I said, many of you will be a world regional leader in the future. And I hope you can give me a job later. Okay, so Audley already told us about where we are. With Miro, we went through that journey in 2013. And what was the biggest impact? Increasing coverage from the 6 national office to 10. So one of the key elements of the RIAT will ensure audit coverage for all the countries in that region. Not only we used to have auditors in just 6 offices, because those the only offices could afford the full-time auditor, one. But then after that, all the offices benefit from the audit service. South Africa, last year, 2017. With South Africa, we managed an overall budget saving. But this is not the objective. Okay, I think the most important objective is the quality and relevance and the service to the organization. And West Africa, the youngest, well done. In Q1, they went through this journey of transition. So both in South Africa, West Africa, we had enhanced coverage, right? And we have all other regions on the journey. We think about it, we work on it. And there is great effort from all the regional directors engaging with the key stakeholders. We are in the process. Okay, so we have demonstrated benefits in these 3 regions. So the boards, of course, they were concerned at the beginning, what about my fiduciary requirements? We had an answer for that, a mitigation factor. So we had a dedicated regional manager to report to the board. And the boards, of course, they approved the national audit plan, the national office piece of the plan. We had increase in the offices, especially we are moving to 2030, we are on the 2030 strategy to implement that. So more presence in a fragile context. It was very difficult before to have presence in the fragile context. Now with the regional team, we deliver services to them. We don't need to have auditors in those countries. We know how difficult it is to have professionals in this context. So now we cover that. Very important for the organization. Reduce time to respond to investigation. We're looking where in the journey to have dedicated resource, but it's not always just enough. So we still need to support that process. So the first impact was we are quick to respond. Before it was difficult and took time, so we're losing momentum to respond to the investigation. The very key element of the RIAT is shared and flexible audit resource. So the planning of the audit assignments is very flexible. I think you have to understand that an auditor in a region can go anywhere in that region. Even in sitting in one country, can go virtually anywhere, unless there are some restrictions in terms of travel. Quality of staff and retail. So that's very important experience we have. Higher quality audits. Bigger picture audits. I think that's the main message, bigger picture. Connecting the dots. Just because more exposure. Thematic focus audits. I'm sure everybody experienced that. It was early stage, we did some accrual audits. How many of you probably been experienced that? Now we do a global effort. We support KPMG in their process. Very much thank you for that. Excellent job. We continue with that. We have some countries with thematic on child protection. Great report. Big focus. Very focused, right? Enhanced collaboration of key stakeholders. Now, RIAT will have enhanced collaboration with national, regional support office and global stakeholders. More exposure. That makes you stronger, you know. I'd be a bit pushy, but it makes you stronger. When you give a report, I'll be very relevant for everyone. Of course, challenges. Always there will be a challenge. Well, this is not necessarily a challenge, but we experience a decreased number of assignments, but increasing complexity. Why? Because simply we are not advocating for one auditor doing one audit. We are advocating doing one audit done by a team of auditors with a bigger coverage. One very important report. You could say maybe less to follow up. That's right. But you do it once and you do it great. Nevertheless, on the staffing, it's an increase, I would say increased international travel exposure. Generally, it's very beneficial, but for some people it might be a challenge. We don't exclude that. Auditors get better. That's right. Competition, we have competition in the market. But I would encourage you, if you want to move from the audit, move to the leadership of World Vision. So make this as a journey. All right, so what about the structure? So you might have this question, how the structure would look like, the reporting lines. Rather a bit complex, right? So you might be a bit disturbed about that. So we have all the RIAT, it's in the dark blue, RIAT positions. Okay, so all the others we have with the lighter blue, we have GIA, upper level management, and then we have the management in the other color, orange. So we have one of the key positions in the RIAT, we have regional audit managers. A regional audit manager, it's having a portfolio, a responsibility of 2-3 offices, depending on the context. I think Miro has more, but they are a smaller team. And then we have regional auditors and regional audit seniors as positions, so 3 main positions. On top of that, we have dedicated resource of senior investigator and senior IT audit for each region. Eventually, we might share IT for 2 regions, so this is in our plan. A key element, reporting line of the regional manager. Quite complex, you might say. So solid line to the board and solid line to the regional audit director. Not a big change, right? And of course, this is dotted line to the national director. But the national director is its administrative purpose and will be all the MDs in the portfolio of the regional manager. Then we have the pool of auditors, pool of audit resource, fully flexible. Nevertheless, I mean, each auditor will report to a specific manager. However, it doesn't mean we'll do audits only with that manager. So regional director, audit director, together with regional managers, will decide on the resource allocation every year based on the audit plan. Where the optimum allocation, based on the skills, based on the requirements, based on the expectation for audits. So that's the beauty of this model. So as I said, an auditor can go everywhere. That's very important. Budget and cost sharing. With the RIAT, we consolidate the entire cost and then we reallocate to all the national office. Now, currently we use like a country expenses as allocation driver. Of course, we can always look for better fair share in the future as we go. So we can have auditors sitting in a few countries but servicing the entire region. So each national office, all of them, will contribute to the audit budget. What are the key steps as we have the full region moving to RIAT, looking for the RIAT opportunity? So the key elements, key steps in this process is to collect expectation of the key stakeholders, the boards, the national office directors, the management, and the regional leadership. Have their expectation, collectively discuss about the concept. And then, of course, we come up with a proposed case scenario. And the region, we had examples of that depends, each region might decide about having a regional steering committee. It could be the regional leader and the regional SLT. And we had South Africa, they proposed having a steering committee, which was a very good example for having some national directors on the steering committee. So we had, we were very inclusive and we plan to be very inclusive in our journey. So people will get inside these concepts so they will have buy-in. Of course, the business case, very important step. We have the structured reporting relationship, cost sharing, roles and responsibilities in that business case to be discussed, developed, discussed, and agreed. And key element of the change management, we know, with continuous engagement, continuous communication. So status progress report on this business model. Change management, communication plan, part of this, and the very intensive will be the staff transition from the old structure to the new structure. Okay, so that's, and then of course, implementation. All right, so this was the walk through that. I want to shift the gears a bit. Okay, so I would like to invite the 3 regional directors for the regions where we have RIATs, so we can have more lights. How was that process? And part of your question might be answered with that. Then of course we have the individual session for each region that we can continue answering your question about RIAT. Okay, so now I will become a reporter. So just shifting a bit, getting some spice in the process. So I'm the reporter of Fusing the News. This is my name, Fuse the News, 2 words, not 3. I'm representing the Audit Today newsletter, magazine. So let us invite Mrs. Mihaela Visan, Middle East and Eastern Europe. Nchimunya Chisuta, South Africa Regional Director. Mr. Felix Afanam, West Africa Regional Director. So let's put some questions to them, right? So we need to find out, we had some disturbing news that World Vision is going to this journey of having shared services. And we want to find out how this is and how beneficial is this. Our stakeholders are very interested about is that successful or not, or do you recommend or not? We need to find out. So let me ask you some questions. I would be kindly asking if you can answer, walk us through this with your answers from your regional perspective. All right, so my first question would be, why would you recommend a regional internal audit team? If you recommend, some people might not.
Well, I would recommend because it's a great experience. It's a great exposure. It's an opportunity for you to become a better auditor and to be in front of regional leaders and to come up with great reports and great opportunities.
Thank you. Well, Mr. Chisuta?
Okay, I'll comment on what my colleague said. As an auditor, definitely skills we have. It's only because we already have. We learn from friends. A lot of sharing, skills sharing. Work with wider teams. Work with more exposed people. Work with other system leadership teams. Work with regional teams. Get exposed to a lot of travel. So it's very much in it from personal growth, career growth. It really enhances your knowledge.
Thank you. This is better than going, right?
No, it's still.
It's the same.
I'll get the echo guy.
I think we have given all the good reasons. and you also did a good job in introduction in terms of detailing the benefits of RIAT. It is clearly because of those benefits that I would recommend RIAT to the other regions. One thing that I'm seeing, just having implemented it for the last 2 months, is the team spirit is very high. I mean, the team is working as a group. It is working much more closely, and we are engaging more with the team. And apart from that, all the other reasons that they are giving, there's a lot of engagement at the regional level. The region is showing a lot of interest in the work that we are doing. Just last week, because of the audit that we are planning, we had to do a lot of engagement with the region. And some of the regional directors are looking at saying, hey, we have a new team that have joined us, and we want you guys to come back and then give us a refresher on what RIAT is all about. So there's a lot of engagement. And apart from that, the team is going to get to travel different countries, experience different contexts, learn different experiences, and share best practices among the various countries that we have. One thing that we had as a challenge in West Africa was the fact that were very good in terms of resource availability. I mean, I'm talking about the audit side. And then a couple of other countries didn't have resources at all. So we were always, struggling, to fill that gap. RIAT has completely, dealt with that. That gap has completely been filled because precisely what Adrian said. Anybody within the RIAT team can go anywhere, so long as the need is there, and then we can fill that need. So RIAT is a great, initiative, and I think that this is one of the biggest achievements as a department, over the last few years, and we have to give thanks to our leaders for initiating this program.
Thank you so much. Mr. Audley, are this director convincing you to continue the project? Oh, that's very encouraging. Let's go for it. Excellent. I'll go to a very tough question now. What your team said about the RIAT before and after the transition?
I will come there. I will come here because I care about your ears. Okay, now I would like to speak like a team member because Mir started this project in 2013, and that time I was audit manager. So I can share my experience as an audit manager. So was a very tough one for me that time, and I can share with you very honestly this. I don't know what to expect from RIAT. I don't know what would happen to my job, with my position. I was just at that time manager for Romania, Bosnia-Herzegovina, and Lebanon, and was for me a new change. So the secret of success was about to trust your leader. So I trust Adrian because he explained. I trust him. I simply trust him. He explained me that things will be fine. The worst part that he chose the wrong moment to do that. Just in Christmas time, And at the same time, he implemented also the new methodology, risk-based audit, also piloting in Mir with the same thing. So imagine that in that time, we implement risk-based audit first time, we have RIAT also, and on top of this, of course, we have interviews because the process should be transparent. So was a process for us very long and with a lot of exposures and a lot of stress. I can say. Even I can tell you the dates: 17 December to 21 December, and you give us the result in 3 January 2004.
Wow! I'll make sure this news it's
yeah, I
on the
have
front
excellent
page.
memory. This is my problem now. I don't forget anything that you did to me.
Thank you for sharing. This is recorded, so our readers will find out.
Anyway, so now as a RIAT, and I'm talking about Adrian because we worked together for the last 10 years. He was my manager in Romania, my regional director, and now still is in my head as a global director of operations. So, as a regional director now in this position after 10 years, I can tell you that is a great and excellent exposure for me and for my team. We grow together, we increase the quality of all our audit reports, and we are ready to stay in front of any kind of storms that are coming. When Adrian project RIAT, the design of my region was totally different. After that, we got Syria response. And when I'm saying Syria response, I'm talking about countries like Iraq, Turkey, and Jordan, and Lebanon. So those are problematic countries. All of you know about the refugees and everything. So the demand of audit increased. Imagine if we are not prepared for respond to such a demand with RIAT service. I think audit was not the service that our clients expect to be. So now I can say as a RIAT that we increase the quality of the service. We got a seat in the table, you know, because we are part of the region team. We have a seat in the table with our regional leader, with our SDO, with regional directors team. So the opportunities are great to show the quality, to show the service that we want to provide. So thank you.
Thank you. Would you mind to scheduling with interview with this Adrian that you're talking about? I wanna hear his thank you. Remember my name. Here's the news, right? Mr. Chisuta.
Thank you. In our region, I think before RIAT, like any natural reaction for human beings, whenever there's change, even when you explain the benefits, people are just a little bit timid. And you communicate the message, 5 times, 10 times. If you're a good performer, you don't need to worry. If you'd explain to them the benefits, and people would still have that fear, which is natural. So what I discovered, what I did, of course, every region is different in context. What we did is we deliberately started operating as a pilot RIAT before we even implemented. There's certain offices where we knew there was no capacity, there were no auditors, and we started operating as though we were actually already a RIAT team. And we started supporting those offices with an already existing team that was there. We did that for a period of 1.5 years. And within that period, we demonstrated that we could cover the audit plan of that specific office. Actually, there were 2. We demonstrated that we could cover 100% of the coverage with an already existing team outside that office. And we also showed that the costs were much lower using that specific model. So from an organizational point of view, and even to the auditors themselves, they could see that we're able to achieve as one before we even implemented. Before RIAT as well, because of that fear, we had to have a lot of engagements with the team. So that was before. I think perhaps maybe later on in the discussion, we can ask those who are available in the audience.
Where is your team? I want to see them.
I think my team is here.
Stand up. Great.
So as the interview goes on, I'll call upon one of them to just explain later on.
If you have any scandalous comments.
Yeah, in our case, the audit group was actually the first key stakeholder that we had to, socialize the new initiative with. And we had a lot of engagement with the team, prior to even selling it to the region, and then during the implementation process. And, as is normal with any new project and a big change like this, especially the fact that they had to do directly with their employment, people were initially anxious, how is this thing going to impact me? Am I going to lose my job? Even though some of them will not express it, openly. Those concerns were there, but I would want to call on one of my managers who is here. He was there, before we started the whole thing, and he's here, and I would like him to come and share with us, answer directly to this question. How did he feel before, and then now that we have gone RIAT, is it different from what he felt, or is the same? So Mike, can you come forward and then respond to this question?
Thank you. Can I see West Africa team? Yeah. Well done.
Before and after. I'll be very honest, before the anxiety will be there. Am I going to be still involved with him? Am I going to be out? But the fear was a bit reduced by the constant communication. Virtually, we have our regional meetings every month, and RIAT was on the agenda every time. So the progress was explained to us. You knew what was at stake and other things. So you know that at least you trust your director that what he says he's going to do. So the fear was there, but of course after RIAT, you can see the benefit. For my hub, for example, we are enjoying the benefit. As Adrian said, response to investigation, for example, just after implementation, there was a need for investigation in Sierra Leone. And virtually within 24 hours, we had already decided that I have to move from Ghana to Sierra Leone because we are now a hub, we are now a team. So we don't need to send a mail to ND for his approval and all that because we were a team. And we were able to respond to that need very quick and very responsive. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
So let me just add some context to the last point he just made. Before RIAT, anytime we needed to help one office, it was a big issue. You know, how to get auditors released by their NDs to go and support was huge. You know, it was so huge that even with Ebola, I'm sure a lot of you remember the Ebola epidemic in Sierra Leone. You know, when Ebola came, we had a lot of grants coming to Sierra Leone, and we needed to mobilize a team and go into Sierra Leone and support the team there. It wasn't easy. You know, people are always thinking, you know, these guys are going to be away for a couple of weeks, you know, my program is going to suffer. You know, so all the time you negotiate. Sometimes we succeed, but it takes some time. The example he just gave, I mean, that was the first, you know, immediate benefit that we demonstrated with RIAT. Within 24 hours that we had, I mean, we got the information about the allegation in Sierra Leone, we were able to take a decision that, hey, Mike, you need to go. Literally within 24 hours. And then the next few days, he was already on the ground. Our regional leader would normally say, hey, investigations, I need some information in the next week, in the next 2 weeks. Now we can do that. We can respond to that request. And we did respond in this case. In the past, it was very difficult. We couldn't do that at all. So this is one of the clearest benefits of RIAT that I can share. And then we had the opportunity of, you know, sharing this with the region, and they were so happy. Because I believe they were on board, but there will always be a reason why there are reservations. And once we were able to demonstrate that RIAT brought this benefit, even before we officially announced that RIAT has started, I mean, they were all happy about it.
Oh, this is amazing. I know. These people did just anticipate my next question. So they already answered what would be the demonstrated benefits. Thank you, Felix. I mean, yeah, that's flexibility. Any other demonstrated benefits you want to highlight?
In RIAT, you can see the full picture, and you can present to your clients a report that reflects the situation in the specific office. And the scope will be larger, it's true. The work will be more, it's true. But the quality and exposure will be totally different. So I noticed after RIAT implementation in MIR in 2014-15 that our clients, they are very satisfied with the improvement of the quality of the reports. And that feedback encouraged me to move forward together with my team and to work more for that, and with each report to increase the quality. So this is the benefit, and is another good thing that if you detect a finding in one office, you have immediately contact with your region, and you can highlight that if you notice, for example, a finding in Lebanon or in Jordan or in Romania, you can see that is a problem in the entire region. So you immediately can address that finding. You are not in isolation in only one office, and you don't know what's happening in other offices. So you can have immediately a preventive action plan, and you can have the office.
Mr. Bell, any benefits you see from these RIATs? What will be one of the major? Or you wanna?
I think I'll ask one of my team members to come up, perhaps Danny, just to talk about the benefits of practical benefits. You can talk on behalf of the team.
Yeah, let's welcome Danny.
Okay, thank you. In sum, on behalf of my fellow friends, the practical benefits which we have seen is the flexibility of the team. For example, especially in movement, for example, in the DRC, it's one of the fragile countries where it needs the team to be heat trained. Heat trained is a security training. Now, for the teams to be trained from other countries, it was hard for the national directors to approve the training of the team. They say, no, in Zambia, there's no need for you to be trained in security. Oh no, I want to go to DRC for help. They say, why? You are our team, you are our staff. But after RIAT, it's now easier. We have a lot of now staff from other countries who have undergone the heat training. And it's easy now to have a team, to make another team to go to any other region within the Congo. It's one of the benefits which I have seen. And the other benefits is the closeness to management. If I go to another country, for example, if I go to, let's say, Swaziland, the NT there have been asking me, where's your friend? I say, which friend? Oh, Amos. I said, that one is from Zambia, I'm coming from DRS. But now they see that this is a team now. So it's one of the benefits that you are closer to management. You are not only in your country, but the whole region. And there are many benefits. If we talk them, then it will be even up to night. Let me stop there.
Thank you.
So one of our core values is to be responsive. And so with RIAT, we're more responsive now. I mean, as Felix and Nchimunya mentioned, we don't have to go to NDs for approval. They can make the decision. And timeliness, I mean, we get complaints about not being able to address investigations or special requests in a timely manner. Now we're more agile. Exposure. You're not locked into just one office. You have the entire region, which is going to be beneficial to you, to your development. So, I mean, it's I think it's a win-win situation. But as Nchimunya said earlier, change, the natural response, the change is to, to resist. But I think we have been on this journey of change for a long time, so I think you all are used to it now, and embracing it. So we will be fine, I think.
Thank you so much. This is great, But I love stories, right? I love stories a lot. So my challenge for you, my question will be, what's the best, the worst, and the funniest story you have with the RIAT? The best, the worst, and the funniest.
Well, the best is because we are here. I mean, after 5 years, and I prepare myself for QR now with RIAT, which is great. This is the best.
Great for you.
And was a hard journey, was a long one, and as I said, my region changed, expand actually, and the portfolio increased, the demand for audit increased. We had a lot of crises around, but we responded each of them. What you said, the worst. The worst, as I said before, I mean, was a pressure during the transformation in 2013 from national office level to RIAT. And the interview process and all the steps, you know, because as I said, I was in your shoes. I was there. I was in that situation to face this change. And as Audley mentioned before in Nchimunya, as human beings, we are resistant to change. So that time I was also very stressed, especially because this guy chose Christmas. I thought before. But the process was nice. I mean, in the end, and after 5 years. Really, I really feel it was a great benefit. The funny story is that Adrian, you see, he used a lot the word pool. Always he said pool of auditors in RIAT, pool of expenses, pool budget, whatever. So we as auditors, we understand it's about swimming pool. So one of my auditors, you know, he said, Adrian, what you are going to do with us? He was regional audit director in me at that time. And he said, you know guys, I will teach you to swim in the pool. And after we experienced RIAT, we realized that Adrian requested from us to swim in the ocean. So we are trying to find cold water now and to exit from this ocean. We are still here. And we enjoyed the experience. So this is the funny story.
I love this story.
Yes, for Sar, the best part of the story of RIAT for me has to be the level of buy-in and engagement with everyone who's involved in the process. I'm starting with the national directors. I'm looking at those who were involved when we created a strategy for change management, because we involved a change expert, we involved the governance advisor, we involved technical experts with regards to how to manage change within people, the support from the GIA leadership, from the region. That buy-in was easy for smooth transition, including the team. So I think that's the best part of the RIAT story in itself. The worst part of it has to come from, you know, when we're talking about the value addition of RIAT, what is it we're trying to achieve? And whenever we explain that it's about service delivery, efficiency, quality, independence, all those objectives, we were mentioning them clearly to the national offices. However, remember, national offices also have their own interest. They were looking at cost reduction. You know, when you're working with stakeholders, you have to understand that you have to try to manage the expectations and interests of each stakeholder. And within this RIAT implementation, they took it as an opportunity to try and cut down costs. Now, the good thing with RIAT is that as a regional audit director, you have the decision rights, you have at least to a certain extent, to try and manage and control the resources within. However, unfortunately, you still get the budgets from the national offices. You can only control it once the pool is there, as my friend said. So, during that process of implementation, those changes in how much could be contributed and funded by each national office, and there were a few cut downs, but we did manage it within expectation. In terms of funny stories, I think nothing beats what Mihaela said.
Just right.
I think for me, it's when Audley came in 2015 to talk about RIAT. Was it 2014? 2013. To talk about RIAT, it was pushed back. The regional leaders, SDO, NDs, they pushed back, said, no, we're not ready. Come 2015, after we had demonstrated that we could do an audit in 2 countries, meet 100% of the coverage and reduce the costs, they were the first to raise their hands. All those people who were refusing, they were the first to raise their hands. You know, so we found that odd, and we said we always try to look ahead. I think you can see from the theme of the conference, Auditors of the Future, we try to be ahead of the game. So I think that's the funny side of it, why they were refusing and they were ahead of accepting.
So this is very funny when management come to you to this podium. Thank you.
I think in the case of West Africa, the best part of it was, you know, how our regional leader at the time, you know, first of all, the way I've presented RIAT to him, the context, and then the way he responded, and then how he even helped me to be able to reach out and get the other NDs on board. It so happened that the regional leader at the time came to Ghana for a meeting. So I called him up in the hotel and said, can we have dinner together? And then he agreed. So I took him out, you know, for dinner. And this was the first time I was going to make a case for RIAT. So, you know, during the course of our meal, you know, I kind of explained what we are thinking about doing in terms of restructuring the audit department, and then the benefits that it's going to bring to the ministry in West Africa. And surprisingly to me, I mean, the response was a yes, you know, an immediate yes. And that was quite cool. And then he went further to then suggest, you know, how I'll be able to bring the other NDs on board. And according to him, he showed me 2 or 3 NDs that were very vocal and likely to be a source of resistance. So he said, okay, I'm going to arrange a meeting of NDs and call you to come and make your case as we have done here. But before you do that, talk to these NDs and make sure you convince them before the meeting. And that was also very cool. And that's exactly what I did. You know, I spoke to the NDs, those 3 NDs that he identified, and they were also on board immediately. They had questions, of course, but they were generally in support of the idea. So it made my meeting with the bigger group, you know, quite easy, because I had the regional leader on my side, and then I had these 2, 3 NDs on my side as well. And then, you know, they supported me in a way to kind of create the environment for the other NDs, you know, to support the idea. So this was really, you know, the best side of it.
I have a follow-up question. What did you serve at that dinner? Maybe the other ones. We want to know.
You know, it's basically what we have been talking about in terms of benefits. And as I said, I kind of try to address the West African problem with RIAT. And the West African problem, as I mentioned earlier, was, you know, the fact that we had offices that were deprived in terms of resources, and then other offices well endowed, but we being kind of limited in leveraging these other resources from the other offices. And then he saw my point quite clearly. Well, we've been talking about it. This is not the first time that I was making that point. You know, he has raised it before. Also, we looked at it in the broader context of managing risk within the region, because he was also interested in the bigger picture, not just having good performances in some offices, and then poor performances in other offices, which was the case in our region also. And we also had a history which I took advantage of. We had a big fraud issue in Liberia, another big fraud issue in, we don't have a program now in Liberia, and the fraud was, part of the reason why the office was closed. And then we also had a bigger fraud issue in Chad. And then at that time, there were 3 big fraud issues in the partnership. There was another one in another region. So I said, well, look at it. If these are the biggest high-profile fraud issues in the partnership that we know, 2 of them come from our region. And the reason why they are in our region because we are not managing our risk very well. And we think RIAT, should be able to help you, address that. It was part of the argument also I used for introduction of risk-based internal auditing. And that kind of resonated with him quite well because there were issues that he was really concerned about. So I think it was more of trying to connect with what the issues that concerned him and got his approval quite quickly. In terms of worst case, the process, we lost one of our best auditors in the RIAT process, which was quite painful because historically he has been a pillar in our region, and we were counting on him a lot to be able to share his knowledge with the new team that was coming. But the way RIAT was organized, he couldn't find himself fitted in it, so he had to leave the organization. So that was really the tough part for us. I would say bad part. I also experienced a lot of stress in dealing with RIAT. My regional leader and the other leadership were very demanding and very detailed in terms of looking at little things that normally I would think is outside what we should be looking at. So there were a lot of reviews, back and forth, and that whole process was very stressful. But it was, much as it was stressful, it was also very eye-opening. I learned a lot, from that process, and then the feedback as well. But I felt really exhausted. By the time I was getting to December, just the last day before the Christmas break in 2016, I was really down. I just made my last presentation on RIAT, and the feedback wasn't very good, and I was really kind of shattered. So yeah, that was also hard on me. But eventually we learned from it, and then we picked up from there, and then finally we got it passed on.
So you have the same problem as Mihaela, this Adrian on your head?
No, this time
December. Oh.
This time it wasn't Adrian.
Okay. Don't do RIAT on December. Okay.
Exactly, because December your spirits start coming down. You're preparing for the holidays. So funny story. I'm not sure I have a funny story. I think the best story is what Mihaela gave, so I would pass on that one.
Thank you, Felix. So kindly asking Mr. Bell has any closing comments and encouragements for RIAT that we'll appreciate.
Yeah, I think it's it's been said. I think it's the right thing to do. Those of us who haven't embarked on that journey, I know the other regions, East, Sapo, Lacro, here, you all are in progress of putting the business case together. Again, we all are going to benefit from it. You will benefit, the region will benefit, the partnership will benefit, and also it will help us to contribute to the realization of our promise 2030. So support it, you know, and yeah, it can be stressful at times, but I think, you know, you have Felix, Nchimunya, Mihaela, Adrian to learn from. You know, you don't have to make the mistakes that are, you know, we don't have to repeat the things that we know are going to stop us. I mean, they can help you, okay? And it's getting much easier. The key here is that the regions, I mean, all the regional leaders are on board. And the boards are also now supporting it. So I think it's going to be much easier for the other regions that are in progress now of implementing it. I don't know how much time we have. If we have, are we out of time?
We just finished now.
Yep, time is up.
Yeah, it's up.
Oh, all right. So in your breakout sessions, you know, tomorrow and Friday, if you have questions, we can address them then. Okay.
Yeah, of course, today I made the questions, so tomorrow, next 3 days, we have the questions. We want to thank you so much for our audience, to our guests here. And